In February of 2010, a man named Scott got on a bus in southern Florida looking for a new start, new hope. He had fallen on rough times. A few years earlier, Scott had put everything on the line and opened his own tiling business. The timing was unfortunate because, as you might remember, the housing collapse, the Great Recession that hit in 2008, 2009, hit Florida very, very hard. Scott lost his business. He lost his savings. He lost his home. He lost everything. But a friend had told him that you could always get a job in the meatpacking plants up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It was hard work, but it was work. And Scott was not afraid of hard work. So he scraped together the last few dollars that he had, and he bought a bus ticket on the Greyhound and arrived in Green Bay 27 hours later. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, and the wind chill was about 17 below zero. Scott was not prepared for that. He had no idea what that sort of cold meant. He had no coat. He had no hat. He had no gloves. He had just a few items that he had brought with him in a Rubbermaid tote. He got off the bus hoping to find someone who could point him in some sort of direction. But at 4 o'clock on a Saturday in the middle of February, when it's that cold outside, there's not a lot of anyone anywhere. People were inside. He didn't know where to go. He started to wander the streets hoping to find some sort of direction, hoping to find somebody who could help him. He would duck into convenience stores from time to time that he found open to warm up, but he got disoriented. He got lost. He got confused. At about 11 o'clock that night, our Streetlights Outreach team found Scott. He was staggering down the street, just a hooded sweatshirt on, hands pulled up in the sleeves, hood up, barely able to talk. I ran to him, gave him my gloves, gave him my hat, wrapped my coat around him. My truck was parked nearby, so we brought him to my truck. We put him inside. We had people sit on either side of him. We got the heater going, and he started to thaw. And the color came back to his face. The movement came back to his fingers. His ability to talk came back. He was able to tell us his story and what he had been through the last 34 hours at that point. And he was an impressive guy. He was so bright and kind and generous. He was a really nice guy. And we got to see him come back into the authentic presence of who he really is as a person. And one of the volunteers who was with us that night leaned to me and said, "It is good that we are here." And these are the exact same words that Peter speaks in this gospel upon the transfiguration of Jesus. It is good that we are here. It is good that we are here. On that mountaintop, in that moment of transfiguration, Jesus gives those disciples a glimpse of who he authentically is. And they are present with him for it. They get to see who he really is. They get to see him in his real presence. Right there with them. And they go, well, this is good that we are here. And in that experience, that encounter with this real presence of the Christ, Jesus foreshadows Eucharist. He foreshadows what we do here every week. This idea of encountering and engaging the real presence of Christ among us. Being awed by it, and then carrying it out with us to do the same for the world. Because you see, the disciples, of course, they're moved by this. They want to run down that mountain. They want to run out into the villages and the community and say, holy cats, you're not going to believe what we just saw. And Jesus says, you can't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody. Because this isn't something you go around talking about. This is something people have to experience and encounter for themselves. And the real presence of Christ calls us to pass that same encounter and experience to other people out in the world, to the Scots from Florida, and to everyone else that we meet and we encounter every single day. To become that, to be transfigured and transformed by that. What happened on that mountaintop, what happened in that truck that night with Scott, what happens here when we gather for Eucharist together are all different experiences of the same thing. An encounter and an experience with the real presence of a loving God made manifest and available to us. To be awed by love, to be transformed by that love, and to share that love in a radiant way out into the world. And may that transformative, real presence of Christ rain down upon you. May the transformative power of the real presence of Christ stir the heart within you. And may the transformative power of the real presence of Christ flow from you into the world.